cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment,
Yes.
I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment,
Yes.
I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment,
Yes.
I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment, I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me. 'Cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. 'Cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say. With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. In this moment,
Yes.
I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
With me you're heading now, babe. I follow to the
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of
Hey guys.
the Waiting Table podcast. And here we have roundtable discussions about all the hottest topics
Gotta download it here.
in weight loss. And of course, we always have the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob, waiting in vain. This is Murph, aka Murph's Losing It. Grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and please take a seat at our table. Murph, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I am very good. We've had a very, very warm day. As you can see, we have the awesome 80s wicker blinds going on here. We're at our
I love
trailer
it.
for the week.
I love it. Very
Praying
nice.
that the internet stays and doesn't like cut us off. So yeah, it's
All
gonna be a
right.
good one.
Getting some R&R. Well deserved.
Yeah. It's been good. I
Yeah.
think I'm sunburned, but that's okay. So as we all know, well, a lot of us know, especially those in the bariatric community, bariatric surgery is far from the easy way out. And I know that we're going to be discussing that in a future pod. But a lot of people, I don't think, understand really what it takes to be successful and really to maintain the gains, right? Like it's a lot of people say that, hello, my daughter. A lot of people say that it's sort of easy to lose the weight, but then what happens after that? But it's not, right? We all know that.
No.
A lot of us have gone through the journey of losing weight and gaining it back and doing that whole song and dance. But this is really where our guests this week come in. So we all heard that, we all heard the saying that behind every great man is a strong woman. And this week we really want to explore and celebrate that. So today we are joined by our wives, Mary at The Real Mary Mac and Elise at Becoming Elise RN. And really, they're the masterminds, I think, behind, I know with my household, but really the driving force behind my successful weight loss journey. So, and I know speaking with Murph that Elise has been very instrumental with that. So we're going to talk about that. So thank you, ladies, for joining us this week and doing so willingly without having us make too many concessions and compromises and deals. As you can tell by Mary's face, she's super excited to be here. She's like, guys, I'm shy. Don't ask me too hard questions, but I promise they're not going to be too hard. We have a comment that says, "Wives rock." Yes, they do. Wives definitely rock.
Truly, definitely wouldn't be here today where I am and on my successful journey without my wife. She has been the backbone of this whole journey for the past, it's 2 years. I had my bariatric surgery a year ago, and I know you've had yours 2 years ago. I definitely would not be here where I am. She's a rock star. Wives rock, for sure.
And it's interesting though, because I'm part of a bariatric group in Facebook, and one of the big questions that really come up are how have people sort of managed with their spouses before surgery? Like, what was the support level like? And afterwards, right? Like, how have things changed, since having the surgery and all the different aspects? So we're going to talk about some of those things. I know I have some questions that I'd love to ask you guys. And I know I've been asked these questions in the past too, so we're going to dive right into those. But I think I'm going to start off with a bit of a hard one, and it's sort of because it's going to put you guys on the spot a bit. So for me, my question to Mary is, and to you, Elise, is, I've been with Mary for 20 years. We've been together since high school. We've been married for 11 years at this point. It's been quite a journey, right, for us. And so my question to you, Mary, is, what was it like living with me sort of in the state that I was? So overweight and unhealthy and lazy, for sure. And unable to do a lot of things around the house that I would have liked to have done or in a partnership I should have been able to do, right? So I guess that's my question I'm going to put to you. And Elise, the same thing.
I guess it's hard for me to think about you like the big Rob, because I'm like honestly so used to like how you look now. So like even like looking back at photos and things, it's like mind-boggling that like that used to be you. But like essentially when we first met, we were in high school and you were always a bigger guy. You were not overweight. Why are you making me? You were not like super overweight, but like you've always been like a bigger guy. And as our relationship progressed, your weight kind of like yo-yoed and fluctuated up and down. And it really was the past couple of years where it got pretty bad. And it was just a combination of things. It was, you know, the weight, it was the back pain, sweating, like, you know.
It's all coming out today, guys. The sweating.
Like when you ask, like, you know, about the daily routines and stuff, like you weren't able to do much. And, you know, once the kids were born and they started getting a little bit older, you were not very mobile. You know, things like even getting the mail, which is, I don't know, maybe like 10 to 12 houses down the street, which to most people is like a minute or two walk.
It's 110 meters.
Was very difficult for you. Or if you had to pick up something from our neighbor's house, which was maybe like 5 or 6 houses down the street, you would take your car, which is like ridiculous because for most of us, it's like, okay, just get out of the house, walk a couple, you know, walk a couple houses down the street, like things like that would be easy. So like you kind of get used to that. Like I knew that he couldn't get the mail, so like I would get the mail. I knew that he couldn't shovel the driveway.
You remember that one?
Yeah, like the big snowstorms. Like so, like I would shovel the driveway or try to, and then our neighbors would come help me with the snowblower because he couldn't even like push that. Like that was like a lot of effort. So that was kind of like how our life. That was daily life for us, and it was something that you just. It was bad to say, but like I got used to it. Right, like, you know, he couldn't walk to school, so I would walk to school to pick up the kids. So it was like I would do all the grocery shopping. So that's just kind of like how our life was for the last couple of years before the surgery. But it wasn't always like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Elise?
Pretty similar. I mean, when we met, he had just come off of losing weight. I think he'd lost what, 100?
Lost 130 something ish pounds. So I was down to like 225.
Yeah. So he was pretty comfortable. And I mean, he could do pretty much everything that we needed to get by. He was working full time and I was staying at home with the kids. And so when he started gaining weight, it happened after his aunt had passed away. And so we were dealing with his weight gain on top of grief. And so it was a lot. And so I looking back, I feel like I kind of enabled the behavior a little bit, like his eating, because I felt bad for him because he was grieving. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was pretty similar. Like we couldn't go to the park. We couldn't do anything with the kids. I mean, it got to the point where he quit his job and stayed at home and he slept in a recliner every night. And I took care of the kids and I worked full time and I did the groceries. And it was like, I want to say that I never resented him for it, but honestly, probably a little bit. It was exhausting. It was not good.
No, it definitely wasn't good. And we recently just destroyed that recliner out back.
Yeah, we beat it with a hammer.
We beat the snot out of it.
We're
never going back to that recliner.
Thinking about that,
I had back issues as well. And
yeah,
for me to actually tear that recliner apart and be able to bend over, it took us like an hour. That thing was a tank.
Yeah, but we didn't sleep in the same bed for years. I mean,
at least three solid years. We didn't sleep in the same bed. Or the same room. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you would pull the bed out to the living room just so you could be next to me.
Yeah.
It was tough. And I couldn't shovel, but I mean, I've got teenage boys, so I send them out to do all the shoveling and stuff like that. But going anywhere.
Yeah, we couldn't do anything.
I had to have a cane. She had to push me in a
wheelchair. We went to Frankenmuth, which if you're in Michigan, or I mean, some people know about Frankenmuth. It's got the world's largest Christmas store. So we would go there and I'd have to push him around in a wheelchair because he couldn't walk. I mean, doing anything with the kids was out of the question. Like we'd see things like, hey, it'd be really fun to take the kids to this activity this weekend. And then I'd be like, never mind. No, we can't.
I couldn't do anything with my back pain and leg pain and
it was rough.
Just all over pain. Yeah.
Or it would just be you taking the kids and
we have 7, so that wasn't an option. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we just wouldn't do anything.
So we just wouldn't do anything.
It was like
her taking 7 kids anywhere.
And then I was
that's
on top of that, like just being exhausted from doing all of the other things too.
Yeah.
It was just a lot.
Yeah.
But like, did you get used to it? Because like we only have 2 kids, so I just got used to taking them everywhere with me.
I think not so. I think I got used to not doing anything, but I think that really I was just angry. So I don't know if I ever fully let myself get accustomed to it. Like I feel like a lot of spouses or partners get to the point where they're like, okay, this is just life now. But I was at the point where I was like, I'm angry that this is my life, and like I didn't sign up for this, and I don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing that because that's something I hear a lot, right? And I was, as angry as you were, because obviously you guys have had to carry the load. Really, you really did, right? I was so angry at myself, right? I was embarrassed. That, I couldn't do all these things. Shout out to all my friends on my street, like all our neighbors, but they helped with everything, right? So she mentioned like shoveling snow, but it was really everything. I look at school pickups, like they'd pick up. I look at the first few years of my kids' lives, and yes, I was their dad, but I felt like there was so many other people who helped so much with it because I wasn't able to do a lot of it, right? Like I think about when my kids learned to ride their bike, and I remember running with them, but also sitting on a chair watching from a distance. I remember all my neighbors being outside and helping as part of that because I really wasn't able to do so much. And it was embarrassing, and it was I was so angry at myself for not being able to do that. So, sometimes I have this conversation with Mary about, having done so much and really carrying everything at that point. Like, how angry were you? And, she'll say, oh, I wasn't at the same time. But I think I don't know how deep down, but I know I was angry. So I wouldn't be surprised if you were. Right, unless you are like the most patient person, which I know you're not.
She's a saint.
Yeah, she's just like, stop. But like, were you angry about like all that?
I don't think I was angry. I think at like some point you just kind of get used to it, and you're just like, okay, this is what life is like, which is like really.
That's sad.
Really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously at like some points I'm just like, oh, I have to do this again, or like, oh,
right,
I can't push the snow anymore, or like, yeah, like you said, like, oh, we want to go here as a family, but it's like he can't walk, so then it's like, okay, well, I'll just take the kids. I'll just
remember like Christmas, like downtown Milton, like the Christmas or not. I don't know if it was Christmas parade or Easter or something, but yeah, I remember pictures. All the neighbors are there. You're there with the kids. Where was I? I was at home because I couldn't walk.
Yeah, there was like an Easter hunt in downtown Milton, and I remember we went with some of our neighbors and the kids, and then you dropped us off.
Right.
Because you couldn't walk down that like strip and back.
I think I waited in the car or something.
Yeah.
Probably. No, you didn't find parking, and then you had to come pick us up after.
Yeah, it was bad though.
I think for Chris, like he tried to do a lot of things, and I feel like when he couldn't do them, like he would try to go places with us. Like when we went to Frankenmuth, that one just sticks out in my mind. And like he would get so angry. And like I know it was mostly anger with himself, but like in general, just the situation of not being able to do the things that he wanted to do would make him angry. And so it just kind of was like, do we just not go and not deal with dad being mad and not being able to do it? Or do we try and do it? And then
yeah, I mean, for me, I'm trying to make memories with my kids. Frankenmuth is kind of a big deal. It's a tradition. My aunt and we used to go up there together before she passed. It was, it's a place where I like to go and just have a good time. And I couldn't have a good time. And my pain was so intolerable. It was like if we were in a store and she would ask me a question, it was like Charlie Brown's mom talking. It was like, wah, 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 wah. And I'm not hearing what she's saying because I just feel pain and anger and frustration and guilt and more depression. Then I just want to eat something, and it was just like this never ending cycle of, and so, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in for any marriage, it's tough.
For sure.
through
So at
sickness and
least
health,
when,
and
yeah.
that's
So at
where it
least
tests
when
you.
you first heard about Murph interested in weight loss surgery, or the first time you heard about it in, I guess, in context with Murph, like what were your thoughts on it? Like, did you have fears or concerns, or did you think it was a good idea right off the bat?
Oh, honestly, if I remember correctly, I was the one that encouraged you to get weight loss surgery. We had gone to a appointment. Like I think I was pregnant with our youngest at the time, and the doctor had mentioned referring him to the bariatric center that is in the city we live in now. We lived in a different city at that time, and I was like, "Yeah, you should do it." And he was like, "No, I'm not doing that." And I was like, "Okay, whatever. I'll just back up." But then I don't really know. Like once we moved to Lansing and we were like really struggling in our marriage, like it was really, really bad. I think not that I'm blaming his weight on our marriage, like they was struggling for other reasons, but like that didn't help matters, I guess. He kind of started to look into it seriously. So for me, like I think because I work in the medical field and like I'm going to school to be a nurse, like I don't know. I don't get easily freaked out by stuff like that. Like I was like, do it. Like it's a great tool. It's a great idea. Like, I mean, there were some things that were scary. Like, I mean, anesthesia when you're overweight is terrifying.
Right.
All of the extra testing and stuff. Like, I think sometimes you don't want to know things. Like you don't want to know if you have diabetes. You don't want to know if you have sleep apnea. So I think for me, the scariest part was him getting those tests because I didn't want to know what the results were.
Yeah.
That was like the scariest part. But what about you, Mary? How'd you deal with that? Was that scary for you or
I think I
were you
was
supportive?
like complete opposite of you because like I didn't know much about the surgery and other than like what you see on TV. Like like TLC.
Yeah, my 500
right?
Yep.
And I was like, no, like we're not there. Like it's not that bad. Like, do you really need to do surgery? Oh no, my thing fell out.
She can't hear you. Guys, this was planned.
Makeup.
Show you. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it.
Yeah, so
sorry, okay, I'm sorry.
So gross.
Yeah,
ew.
I know, right? Yucky.
Yeah, so I was like opposite. I was like, no, we're not like that's like like that to me was extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we don't need to go there because you can lose weight naturally without any like surgery. You've done it before. Like, why does it have to be this? So I wasn't really on board with it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because it's like complete opposite.
Right.
of like you guys.
And the crazy thing now though is like that was, and hearing this is interesting for me because you're not there, you're not that bad and all that stuff, right? And we look at it from a size point of view, right? Like we look at it a number point of view. I am 600 pounds, I'm 500 pounds, like I was 380, right? And so we're looking at it at that number. But you talked about diabetes, you talked about these other comorbidities, and realistically, if I look back at pictures and videos of myself back then, if I look at the 15 different medications that I was taking every single day for pain, heart, for all these different things, I was way past there, right? Like I look back at myself and I was just like, I don't think I would have lived another 10 years. Right, with all the things that were going wrong with me, and Murph's mentioned it before, and that's why it's interesting because I feel like we are very similar in terms of where we were back then, right? All the different things I was on for back pain and all the different side effects as a result, which I knew, but I was willing to take because I was in so much pain, right? All my heart issues, the heart conditions, apnea was really, really bad. All these different things, it was just really bad. And so I look back at it now and yeah, I think I was there. I think I was past there. My number may not have reflected it, but everything else in my life was saying, you need to make this change, right? And so it's interesting hearing that.
What was your highest weight, Rob?
So my highest weight that I recorded was 379. Okay. I think I probably got to just about 4 though.
Okay.
I don't think I was higher than 4 though.
Okay. Yeah, when I finally went into the doctors, I had started eating healthier in preparation
Right.
for going to the doctors, but I weighed in at 464. So we're guessing based on some pictures before my appointment and things like that, I may have been pushing for 70, 80, something like that. So back pain, man, they say, and I keep forgetting to check this, but 20 pounds of fat is equal to 100 pounds of pressure on your bones and joints. So if that's true, I've heard that multiple times. I don't know if that's Nurse Elise could maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm off. I'm not.
Something. It was just something that I
No,
told
but you're right.
myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. And so no wonder we had the back problems that we had and the struggles that we had.
I think too, part of the struggle for me personally in that entire situation was like he was looking for any other reason besides his back or besides his weight for his back pain. So like he would go to the doctor and they'd be like, you need to lose weight. And he's like, no, it's not that. And I'm like,
couldn't be that.
but it is that. And so I was just really frustrating because like, I mean, I'm sure Mary, like you can't tell them what to do. Like, no, it's really your weight. You should probably, so it was like, it was hard. It was hard to like hear them tell him this over and over and him get defensive. And then I feel bad as a spouse because I want to be supportive to him. But then I also want him to like wake up and realize that, this is a serious problem that could kill you.
I didn't think I was going to make it to my 40th. I was, yeah. And there was a time where I didn't want to, and, but we pulled through and we're here. So,
Yeah. Okay. So the surgery happens, right?
Yeah.
Murph has his surgery. I have my surgery. So I know my experience after the surgery was pretty messed up. Like, what were the first days like as a partner of someone who just had weight loss surgery? Because I know like there was a lot of care that had to be given. You had to help me with a lot of different things. Mary, like for you at least, what was your experience like?
Honestly, he after surgery, he'd never had anesthesia. Maybe once in your life you've had anesthesia?
I think I had it when I was like 9 when I got my tonsils taken out.
He was out. I mean, I went up to the hospital. I took work off and the nurse was like, can you wake him up? I'm like, can you wake him up? Because no, I cannot wake him up. I've been trying to for like 2 hours now. And so really, and then, I mean, I feel like this is a very common thing that I've seen on like the Facebook group that we're in because we share Facebook. He regretted it. Like he was miserable. Yeah. He was so mad that he had the surgery.
The reality of not being able to reverse it hit me.
Yeah.
And the pain.
And the pain of it, combined with the reality. I was like, this was the dumbest thing I've give me my stomach back.
He went to the hospital after he got back. Like I was like, what, a few days later, a week later?
4 or 5 days.
Okay. So they tell you in the hospital, you're going to have pain. It's probably gas pain in your shoulder. Don't go to the hospital. If you have pain, call us so we can assess you. He's like, no, I'm dying. I'm having a heart attack. I'm going to the hospital. And I was like, no, it's just because you have to fart.
I had a really big bruise.
You had
where
surgery.
My incision was. I wasn't used to being able to see my stomach. So I look down and I'm seeing this welt, and it's like there's something wrong there. And then there was pain, and I thought I busted a stitch or something.
It was just a lot of reassuring him that it was.
But I just had to fart.
Yeah, he just.
That was it. I just had to let it all out. So I sat in the ER. They never admitted me or anything. They were just like, "You feel better now?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, go home."
It was just a lot of.
That was it, man. Like I got some Jello.
It was just a lot of reassuring him, and then I mean, she said ice cream, but like finding things that he could eat that were soft, because like he was just in a lot of pain, and I was working. I just started a new job and we have all of our gajillion children. And so like, it was like having another child, but it wasn't like a bad child. It was like, we're ready for like a new chapter in our lives. It was like bringing home a brand new baby.
I had to really reset my mind on a lot of things.
Yeah. It was exciting, but also terrifying.
Referred to me as a baby.
I just really like the experience. Like it was exciting because it's like a new person kind of, but it was also scary because what does this new person need from me now? And how do I fit that role?
And I pushed myself too. I was so ready to be the provider again and the man again and like do things. So I was outside and walking. I do what's called post to post, and the kids did it with me, and I pushed myself really hard. And then I got a hold of Rob and the other Rob, and I was like, hey, how many steps should I be walking? And you guys were like, none, like maybe 1,000 a day. I was like, oh, I did like 7,000 yesterday. Is that bad? Like I was so, I'm a knucklehead.
I have a question for Mary. Do you feel like because you had become so accustomed to taking care of him, and like after he came home from having surgery, do you feel like it was just like the same, or did you feel like there was a difference in that, or like how did that make you feel?
Like I'm trying to think back to when you came home from the hospital, and I really don't recall
I'll tell
much
you what.
of it because you had skin surgery like more recently, and that's all I can remember. Like hearing your experience, I'm like, what did I do when he came home? Like I remember picking you up. And? I remember I was like, oh, I got a really close parking spot because it was Toronto Western, so it was like a little difficult. And I was like, oh, I'm like pretty close. And I remember you were in a lot of pain. You were like hunched over, which I guess isn't very different. But I remember, having to put you in the car, driving downtown and like going over potholes. And
every single pothole hurt so much.
Bad because he was like in so much pain, but I can't help it. And even the highway, like you go over a dip or something, he's like, ugh. And that's really all I remember. Like I don't really remember you being at home and like how long it took for you to recover and if I was waiting on you a lot. Like,
you were. So the first 2 nights I slept in a chair in our son's room, and I was having really trippy dreams because I think the anesthesia, and I wasn't sleeping a lot. So during the day I was sort of, on top of everything else. I was a bit cranky, and I couldn't drink. So like you're supposed to be able to, like I had to teach myself how to drink. I used to chug water, and so it was like all these little sips, right? And it was such a hard change for me, and I struggled, and everything that I had to eat and drink hurt.
What were you eating? I don't even remember.
I was eating so it was liquid, so it was like soups, and it was just water. It was that for the first little while, and then it was everything else. And we had prepped so many different things previously. And so I didn't end up eating most of it, right? Everything that we froze and bought and everything.
Oh, yeah, you did
remember?
ice cubes.
Yeah.
You did ice cube soups and stuff. So they were like perfectly portioned, but I don't think you could even eat like an ice cube of whatever it was.
No, I couldn't eat anything. And then I'd come downstairs, and then I would go on the couch and sort of just lay there, and you had to do everything. And I remember the kids were all over the place, and you had to do that.
Just told them like, don't jump on daddy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
or
right.
the dogs.
The dogs trying to
But
jump
honestly,
up on
like,
me.
I just feel like it's a bit of a blur.
Honestly, last 2 years have been a bit of a blur.
Like that's like it feels like it's like a lifetime ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
it really does.
It feels like a dream sometimes when I think about it. I'm like, did that even happen?
It was only a year ago for me and for us, and I can't. It's just weird. It's like
I feel like it was
something happened, and like I don't know what happened, but now here we are, and it's just like
surgery is traumatic, like no matter whether it goes well or not. And so I feel like a lot of times we block out those traumatic events, and that's just one of those events that I feel like we try to distance ourselves from. It's just. Yeah. It was very dreamlike. And like the day we picked you up from the hospital, we drove an hour away to go pick out your puppy.
Yeah, we drove from here to Flint she surprised me with a puppy, a Great Dane puppy, but we had to go look at him now and pick him out now. So we just got on the road and I drove.
Yeah, he wouldn't even let me drive him home from the hospital.
No, because she's a horrible driver. So and I didn't, I could avoid the potholes a lot better than she could.
I would hit them all.
She finds them all, and we live in Michigan. I don't know what your guys' roads are like up there, but Michigan roads are the worst, and so I'm pretty familiar with driving on them. So we went and picked out a puppy, and then
that's like the only thing
I came home and
day.
Crashed, and then a week later I think we went and picked them up officially. But real quick, Mary Treehugger66 asked, did y'all both have the VSG. The VSG surgery, or did we have the same type of surgery? I know, Rob, you had the Roux-en-Y
I had
surgery.
R&Y, yeah.
RNY.
RNY gastric bypass.
I don't know the difference between the two, quite honestly. It's something I've been meaning to look up. What's the difference with that versus the sleeve? I had the sleeve.
Yeah, the procedure is just different in regards to their approach to it, right? Like with one of them, you actually remove part of the stomach, whereas the other one, you're sort of rerouting your digestive tract, which leaves you with the pouch. That's what the RNY is.
Okay.
A lot of people like the VSG. I know that in Toronto Western, a lot of people like the VSG. Depending on your lifestyle and your age, your demographic, younger people, from what I understand, VSG had been something that they lean a bit more towards because there's a lot of other reasons, but the other reason is lifestyle, right? It's closer to your actual lifestyle, or a lifestyle that a younger person growing up might follow, and that was always something that they pushed at that hospital as well. Your ability to take certain medications, right? Like I can't have certain medications anymore. I can't take anti-inflammatories with RNY. So when I too overdid it right away, because I remember like I had tendonitis in both my legs. Because I was just doing too much right away and I couldn't do anything. And I ended up taking anti-inflammatories topically, which helped lead to an ulcer that I had, I think it was like Christmas or New Year's, right? So it was bad. So yeah, it's just sort of the different approach in regards to how they limit your intake for food.
Right. Okay. I do remember that now because those were the options that we discussed when I went into the doctor, but we chose the sleeve for me. So, and we both had, similar results, I think, in almost the same amount of time. And, it's just, it depends on the individual. So got another question. And I think it's one of the questions that are on our list. This is from my sister, actually. Savannah said, question for the wives. Do you guys feel like your relationship dynamic has changed now that the men aren't as codependent?
Mary, you can go first.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Like it's like night and day. Again, like the past, I would say maybe like 3-4 years where you were really bad is like almost like a blur. And I just like I can't even like imagine our life like that anymore. And even our kids too, like if you ask them, because they were very aware that daddy was immobile, daddy can't play with them, daddy can't pick them up from school, daddy can't do this and do that. And you ask them now, it's like they don't remember either. And even people sometimes look at photos of Rob and they'll be like, they don't even remember him being that big, or they're like, why did you stretch that photo? And he's like, I didn't. That's how I looked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, like it's hard. It's hard for me to think back now, like how our life was versus how it is now. So.
And like, I think the dynamic in our relationship has changed a lot in regards to, a lot of that resentment that I had towards myself and anger I had towards myself has really changed into, I think, appreciation and gratitude. Like I always am very aware of how much Mary had to, I don't just say this, but suffer realistically. You said this, Elise, you didn't sign up for this. Mary didn't sign up for this. A lot of spouses didn't sign up for this. And it's hard. It's not as much as it is a relationship and both of you guys are working towards something. It's obviously very one-sided because of limitations. And I think those limitations, though physical, also ended up being limitations emotionally as well, right? There's so much that was like so much burdening, I think, that I put on you as a result of the way that I was, right? Whether it was related to my weight or not, it's sort of the way that it just happened. I always put things on you and I put things on my kids. And so I think now that I'm in a place where physically I'm way stronger, but I think emotionally I'm way stronger. Mentally I'm stronger.
You're a happier person.
I'm a happier person, right? And that sort of goes towards the way I treat everyone around me. And so, when we first got married, we bought a house. And I remember I got laid off the day our house closed, and I signed our mortgage, but Mary hadn't signed her document yet when I got laid off. And so I was like, sign it, and we need to get it in right away. Sorry if the bank is listening. But so we had to get the mortgage, and I wasn't working, and I ended up working like 6 jobs all at the same time because I didn't want to jump into this field because I was scared of getting laid off again. And I remember we got through that, and this was me working, like we didn't see each other, right? Because I would work one job, I would go straight to the other job, I would get home at 11 p.m., and then I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the next job, and it would be 7 days a week, and we wouldn't see each other. And I remember we had said after all of that, that as much as it sucked, it made us significantly stronger because we knew we could get through anything. And I think that was an understatement when I consider, or when I compare it to like 4 or 5 years prior to surgery and the burden that placed on us, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that was such a long-term burden. And now I can say after that realistically, we can get through anything because we had to go through, not me being laid off, but everything that we had to go through over the past 5 years because of that. So yeah. I think we're a lot stronger. Thumbs up. How about you? How about you guys?
I think, yeah, definitely. I've always struggled with.
So something, Rob, you asked me earlier and I hadn't told Rob, so I don't know if we've ever really talked about it, but we met on a dating website and then got married after 7 weeks of knowing each other. Our first date was at church with my family, my whole family, like my aunts and uncles and cousins. And then we went to the courthouse, and we didn't want a wedding, but we knew that we were to be together.
I mean, don't say we didn't want a wedding.
I mean, we wanted a wedding, but we'd already been married before.
Yeah.
We knew the stress of
the
headache of a wedding. Yeah. So then we got married, and then months.
And then we started to get to know each other.
Right. And then just a few months after that, that was when my aunt passed away. So we got married in November, and then my aunt passed away that following March. And that's when I started to spiral. So she's only seen me, for 5 or 6 years out of our 8 years of being together, our 8 years of marriage. She's seen me at my very lowest, my very heaviest, but also my very lowest and darkest places. So just to put that on there, and then that gives you a little backstory, as to where we started, where we've come from, and then leading up to.
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to go to school to be a nurse. But I kind of put that on the back burner because I had kids young, and then we got married and I had kids, and I was like pretty content with staying at home. So when he started gaining weight, and he was working full time, but like, I don't know, we were struggling. Like we were struggling. I mean, isn't everybody always struggling? But we were like really struggling. And so then adding the weight gain and like the immobility on top of it, and then everything falling on my shoulders. And now not only am I working, but I'm also not doing the thing that I always wanted to do on top of that. It was really hard. Like taking even the resentment out of it, it was just like hard for me mentally to deal with, like on my own, like to come to terms with it, because I loved him and like I didn't want to divorce him or anything, but like it was just like a lot to like deal with emotionally for me. And so now that he's like living his best life and like ready to do things, I think it's kind of hard for me to like hand it over to him.
To let go.
Like I don't even want to. He's like, I can go do that. I'm like, no, I'll do it because I'm so used to doing it. And it's been what? I mean,
it's been over a year.
Yeah, and I'm still like,
surgery.
No, you don't have to do that. And he's like, but I can.
But I can do it. Like she'll say, oh, I'll get the food, or I'll go do this for Jude, or I'll give them a bath, or I'll do that. And I'm like, babe, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like let me do it. I don't want to sit in this chair.
Yeah. It's a new struggle, but it's a funny one that we can laugh at now. I'm like, oh yeah, you can't do that. My bad. So it definitely has gotten better. I think our marriage now, where it was filled with like lots of eye rolls and like grunting and anger, and now it's just a lot of stop. Now it's a lot of laughter and like, remember when we couldn't do this, and now we can.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what was the biggest change? Obviously, Murph and I had to make a lot of changes through our journey, but what was the biggest change that you think you had to make yourself within your relationship?
I think just adjusting to the idea of his personality changing. Like, even like the weight loss aside, I feel like obviously when you lose weight, you feel better, but like he's a totally different person. So like just like adjusting to that in our marriage has been like he never used to smile like this ever.
Yeah, right. Like I'm watching. He has this smile this whole thing.
I know, but like if you,
I'm so excited.
If you look back,
I don't know why I'm so excited. I'm just, just excited about life now.
Yeah. If you look back at our old pictures, I mean, he was miserable. Like he'd smile, but he was like,
I can't even do it.
No, because your face was so puffy that your eyes were so squinty from smiling. It looked like you had your eyes closed all the time. Now he's just smiling all the time. Yeah. So just adjusting to the personality change, like things he used to say before and like sarcastically or like in anger. Now he says jokingly. And I'm like, oh wait, you're joking. Like you're being funny.
Yeah. I'm not being an angry jerk.
No, he's just being silly.
I'm not being, I'm just being silly.
Yeah.
And so she's got to, so she's trying to relearn
your personality,
the me that I've always wanted to be, but I haven't been able to be myself because I lived under this rock of depression and stress and sadness and pain and various things, and now I'm
you.
How are you, Mary?
What?
Biggest change
that you had to make
with you, I think being able to talk more about the future, because I know that's something that you never wanted to talk about. Like even something small, like planning a vacation and stuff, right? It was pretty much off the table. We did our Disney trip, and you were in a mobilized scooter in Florida, which I know was very embarrassing for you.
But it got us past the line. But it
got us the line bypass.
Silver lining, guys.
There's a silver lining. But yeah, just like, being able to talk about future, about plans that we want to have together with our family, was something that we could talk about again, because I know that he really struggled with it before.
Yeah. So I guess with that question, and this is a question I actually get asked a lot, and I think it gets brought up a lot in a lot of the forums, and this is in regards to insecurities after the change, right? Like, so, you have this relationship and you have this dynamic between husband and wife, and a lot of it is just so one-sided and self-reliant, and there's depression and there's anger and all these different emotions. And then, one of the partners goes through this crazy change, and all of a sudden he can't stop smiling all the time, like Murph. So I know insecurity creeps in at points, right? And so I guess I'm asking, has there ever been a point during or now after all these changes that insecurities have sort of crept in? And what about, and how have you handled it?
Not really. I mean, I guess like in regards to what you're talking about, I see like on Facebook groups, like my husband doesn't want me to get the surgery because he's afraid I'm going to leave him. And so like trying to look at it from that point of view, like, no, I guess we haven't really struggled with that. I think he's pretty in love with me.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I think that our relationship is like really strong and based on the fact that like we have supported each other through sickness and health. And so I don't know. I saw that as a big concern for a lot of couples. And like, I was worried that it was going to be a concern, but it hasn't been. Yeah. I do think that some people think like, oh, he's hot now, so now she's like happy with him. But like, it has nothing to do with that.
Wait, who thinks that?
My friends. They're like, wow, your husband's so hot. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, actually, the girls at work, they're like, is he single? I'm like, yeah, he comes with a bunch of kids. But I think he's just a different person mentally and emotionally. And so taking that into account as well, like I haven't struggled with that. I don't know. Have you? Like, do you think that I've struggled with it?
I don't think you have. I think
He's like, dang it, why doesn't she think I'm gonna leave her?
yeah.
That's a trick question.
Lisa's always been. Yeah, right. I know. Hold on.
What do you think, babe?
Give me a second. Hold on. I gotta think this one through. No, I think Elisa's always been confident in herself and who she is, and I think through all the crap that we've been through,
I don't think this would be the thing that would break us.
Yeah,
break us up.
this wouldn't be.
This is like nothing compared to everything else.
This is an improvement on our marriage. To see it as anything other than would be completely crazy
for us. Yeah,
for us. I mean, this is a step. This is multiple steps in the right direction to making our marriage better. I don't think Elisa's gotten insecure or anything like that. I mean,
I'm a little crazy, but not insecure.
Just a little.
What about you, Mary? Have you struggled with that?
I don't think so.
No, she hasn't.
No.
No, I don't think you have, right? Like, so with our relationship, she's always known that I'm a flirt, right? Like with, since the very beginning.
Well, she knows now. Yeah.
She knows now. Everyone knows now. But like even with my approach to work, I always told her back then, like, I'm always around people and I flirt with people. I am very social with people. And that hasn't changed really. It's just now it's coming from a 190-pound guy as opposed to 390-pound guy, right? So I don't know, like, do you find that makes you worried at all? I know a lot of my friends are just like, hey, you're one step away from having an OnlyFans account with all the pictures you post on Instagram.
Yeah,
like...
I think that's like the only thing. Like you kind of bear all on your Instagram and stuff. So there's always like a little insecurity, I think, in the back of your mind,
right?
Because
you're just so open about everything,
right?
I think I can see that.
Yeah.
Not you, but I mean with him.
I'm gonna wear next post tomorrow, guys. There's gonna be a post, and I'm gonna be in a turtleneck, wetsuit, everything.
I mean, this is like this is a very female, outspoken type of thing. Like you don't really hear about men having BSG, and so when he's talking to people on Instagram, like I feel like 90% of the time it's women that are messaging you.
Yeah.
And like at first I'm like, who's this? But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I thought it would bother me, and I poke fun at him for it sometimes. I'm like, who's this girl that's messaging you?
And I try to tread softly, and keep things professional, or I don't want to, Yeah,
but it doesn't bother me, surprisingly.
Yeah. So
we're very open and honest. Like if I was like, let me look at your Instagram, not that I would, but if I said, let me look at your Instagram.
Yeah, no, I could give her my phone. She could give me her phone.
But,
and that's,
so all you ladies that message my husband, it's totally okay. I'm fine with it. It's okay.
So if we were to move, everything is done. Like, Murph's done really, really well with his surgery. I've done well. We've all come to a point where we've learned quite a lot about ourselves and I guess our relationships, right? Through everything that you've experienced, what would you share to other spouses or other partners out there to really help them not just support whoever is going through this journey, but maybe to help see from their point of view? And I find that this discussion has been very interesting for me too, because I think it's easy to be like, oh, I wish they saw it through my eyes, but at the same time, I should be able to try to see it through your eyes as well, right? Because it is a two-way street, and I think that's the hard part. And I think a lot of people who have gone through the surgery, they're always sort of in that mindset of, oh, I wish they understood me. Well, maybe it's good that you understand them to understand why they feel that way, right? So what is it through your experience, or what advice would you share with other spouses or partners, Mary?
I think it's very important to keep an open mind and to really educate yourself, because like I really didn't know much about the surgery other than what you see on TV. My work is nothing to do with the medical field, so I really didn't know much. And I remember our chiropractor was the one that actually introduced you to the idea. It wasn't even like his like RGP or anything. And then when you started, doing your research, because I know you when you're invested in something, you fully dive in. And I think for the most part, you were kind of alone on that journey. And I admit, like, I didn't read up much about it. I wasn't convinced about it. I know when you decided I am going to do this and I was going to support you, I still didn't read up much about it. And we went to that meeting at Toronto Western.
Yeah.
The one where they kind of like give you that binder and you have to bring your support person, and they kind of go over like what you could eat, what you can't do, all the medications you have to take for life. I just remember being very like shocked. I was like, really? Like, this is what you can eat? This is the size of your stomach? So I was kind of like a bit like a deer in headlight. So, but that's on me. Like, I just didn't really invest myself as much as I should have.
Proud of you.
First step is admitting. Woo! No, I know I didn't really do much. And even like the surgery itself, like, I know you were saying like, oh, there's like 2 types. If you ask me which one you did, I'm going to be like, I don't know. Like, to this day, like, I still don't know which one you did.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I feel like the reason why this works with us is because exactly what you had mentioned. You know that if I'm fully invested in something, I will do all the research and I will be sure. And so you knew that I knew exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it. And for me, I think the biggest support that you always have given me through this journey and through everything else in my life and every little aspect, everything I want to jump into, is you're always my sounding board, right? So I'll ask you, should I do this? Should I do this? And I always try to talk myself out. And you're always the one who even if you don't know anything about it, you know which direction I want to go. And you know that I'm always just trying to talk myself out of it. And you'll always push me to do it, right? Because you know that I've set myself up. And I think that's just the dynamic of knowing the person you're with, right? So I'm okay if you don't know about everything, right? But as long as you still support me and encourage me to do what I know is right, I'm good with that.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
I think for me, the biggest piece of advice I would give somebody is that sometimes post-surgery and even pre-surgery, you're going to have to adjust to giving tough love and being honest in a way that you might not be comfortable being honest. Like, I'm not his mom. And so, like, I don't like telling him, like, you shouldn't eat that, or are you sure that that's a good choice? Or like, hey, you signed up for the gym, but you haven't gone. Like, I feel like being supportive, but also being comfortable, being uncomfortable and saying those things. Like, when your spouse makes such a huge life altering decision, like, this isn't like, I'm going to do Weight Watchers. Like, no, you cut out like a giant piece of your stomach. Like, I feel like being able to say, like, hey, you're kind of getting back into what you used to do pre-surgery. Like, you're eating snacks every night, and like, it's uncomfortable because you don't want to.
I thought you said we weren't going to talk about that.
Okay, it's uncomfortable because you don't want to call them out, and like, because he's made so much progress. And I'm not just saying him. I'm sure other spouses have struggled with this as well, or partners. But like, you have to be supportive, but also know that you're there to sometimes call them out when they should be called out. So I don't know. I don't want him to backslide, and so sometimes it's uncomfortable, but we've come this far. And I say we because I feel like it's a team effort. Like, this has been a team thing. Like, yeah, you're the one that had your stomach cut out and are doing all the work. But I also feel like our marriage and our family has come so far that I feel like I got your back. Like, I'm watching out for you. I would hope you'd watch out for me too in that situation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. So last question. And I am very interested because, obviously you make changes, Murph's made changes. And you guys know more than anyone, like, this is a family decision. You had mentioned it right now, right? Like, your family has made a lot of changes and you guys have come a long way. So with seeing what Murph has done, have you at least been inspired in your own, whether it be a weight loss or health journey, or transformational journey, like has what Murph has done, has that helped you, whether it's kick it into another gear or make some changes in your life that you want?
Yeah, I mean, prior to him starting to lose weight, I had started using Weight Watchers and I had a lot of success with it. And then COVID happened and I kind of backslid. And then I've just been comfortable in my backslide because of work, and I'm in nursing school, and there's just a lot, I guess. But recently, I not just with weight loss, like he inspires me, obviously. Like, I hate to say it, but if he can do it and he was so miserable and unable to move, then like I can do it too.
Right.
Like, and I know he's got my back. Like, he's been through, I mean, I'm not doing the surgery right now. I don't think that I'm a candidate for it because I know I can lose the weight if I would just stop eating potato chips every day. But he is supportive and he calls me out on my stuff. He's like, "Hey babe, thought you were watching what you're eating." Not like that.
Very gently.
It's not like that.
Harsh. No, I would.
But yeah, he's very supportive, and like
that's
even
an
like
argument waiting to happen.
Yeah, no. Even like in nursing school, like seeing what he can do to change his life around. I'm like, man, if my husband can lose that much weight and kick butt and be so awesome now, I can get through nursing school. Like he's an inspiration in everything. Love you.
That's it, right? Awesome. Mary, how about you?
Oh, same. Like before we had kids, we were both very active. We were avid gym goers. We were runners. We used to do like the Run for Cancer every year. And then once you had kids, you kind of just got lazy. So I was like lazy for 7 years, pretty much. We have 2. And then he started working out. When was it? It was like
September.
So like a year ago.
Yeah.
A little bit more than a year ago, he started working out. He joined the gym, and then he started getting some equipment to just do some weights and stuff in our garage. And I think you never like pushed me to do it. I was never really overweight. Like I had some extra pounds, like whatever. But you would ask and I'd be like, hell no. And eventually, yeah, again, at some point it's like, okay, well, when am I going to start, just like you both did, start doing something for yourself?
Right.
And it was like, I think you just you would just be like, okay, why don't we just do something small? You don't have to leave the house. And this was COVID too. Just like do a circuit with me. It's only 20. We always joke with our
Inception,
friends.
guys. Inception.
It's only 22 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I obviously have 22 minutes in the day. And the kids are old enough now where they can, occupy themselves. And we're all working from home. So I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have to leave the house, didn't have to drive anywhere. I think really last year we started, and I started maybe doing 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, just in our garage, just doing like a cardio circuit or weight circuit. And once winter hit, I don't know, for some reason, like we fully picked it up. We recruited.
Oh, I know the reason.
We recruited people on our street. We had like a group to keep ourselves accountable. And like now we work out like 5 to 6 days a week, and we've been doing it for like almost a year.
It's been a year. And
nice.
If I'm ever at the point where I'm just like, I'm not, I worked out really hard. Yes, I'm going to take a break. She won't let me, right? Like she'll do the same thing I was telling her, 22 minutes. That's all it takes. Right. So she guilt trips me. But the thing is, like, different things motivate people. Right. And she knows that. So yeah, man, I'm super proud of the fact that you've done all this, right? Like everyone's constantly making comments to you about everything that you've done. And for me, yeah, physically those changes have been great, but realistically for me, the big thing that I've seen for you is you're way more ambitious and focused, because I know your capabilities for a lot of things, and I don't think you do. And I love the fact that something that you've said no to for so long, you're able to try it, and now you kick butt. I'm sorry, Sal and Mike, who work out with us, but she like outlifts them, right? And she started like, oh, I'm not going to do this. And now she's the one who's constantly pushing them. So I absolutely love that, right?
Nice.
And it has nothing to do with you physically. It has everything to do with your attitude. And that's the biggest change that you've made. So I am proud of you.
Very cool.
I know Mara made a comment. She said that, is this going to be recorded? Yes, this will be recorded, and it will be added to our YouTube channel once we do all that fun stuff. So we'll make sure that we do that.
Yeah.
And we are pretty much at time, guys. So
And this will be
Mary,
on,
Elise,
this will be well, I'll upload it to Instagram as well, right?
Oh yeah, you're gonna add it to the Waiting Table Podcast Instagram that we have. I will work out. Murph and I aren't the greatest technical people, as you guys could tell if anyone listened to the first episode. But we're working on it, and it'll be up on all the different things that we can put up, our Facebook pages, our Instagram pages, and we will post our YouTube videos, and soon to come, things like Spotify and all those other cool things. But no, it's been great. Mary, Elise, thank you very, very much for joining us. I think a lot of people wanted to hear about this. This was actually the first question, the first comment someone gave me after our last one, when we asked, what do you want to see? And everyone's like, I want to hear from the wives. So I absolutely love that you guys were willing to come on and join us. Yeah. So that's awesome. Thanks, guys. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community 1 pound at a time. Have a good night, guys.
See you guys. Bye.